Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Om Shri Ramakrishna
भगवान की जय, पवन सुत हनुमान की जय, श्री अम्बे अम्बे मात की जय, श्री कृष्ण कन्हैया लाल की जय।
राम 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 रघुराम, राम 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 जय राम, राम 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 रघुराम, राम 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 जय राम। ओ राम नील मेघ श्यामा, ओ राम नील मेघ श्यामा, ओ राम नील मेघ श्यामा, कोदंड रामा, राम नील मेघ श्यामा, कोदंड रामा, रघुकुल सोमा परंधाम सर्वभौमा, नील मेघ श्यामा, रघुराम राम राम रघुराम, जय राम 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 जय राम, रघुराम राम राम రఘురామ్ జయ రామ్ 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 జయ రామ్. తల్లి తండ్రి గురువు నీవే, తల్లి తండ్రి గురువు నీవే, తోడు నీడ నీవే. తల్లి తండ్రి గురువు నీవే, తోడు నీడ నీవే. శరణియల్ల పాలన చేసే పరంజ్యోతివే. తాగు ఇక కాలను రామయ్య, దాసులను బ్రోవకరావేయ. తాగు ఇక కాలను రామయ్య, దాసులను బ్రోవకరావేయ. తెలియ తరువా పలుక వశమా నీదు మహిమా రాఘవా. తెలియ తరువా పలుక వశమా నీదు మహిమా రాఘవా. ఓ రామణీల మేఘ శ్యామ కోదండ రామ, రఘుకుల విసోమ పరంధామ సర్వభౌమ, నీల మేఘ శ్యామ. రఘురామ్ రామ్ రామ్ రఘురామ్ జయ రామ్ 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 జయ రామ్. రఘురామ్ రామ్ రామ్ రఘురామ్ జయ రామ్ 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 జయ రామ్. రాత్రి నైన నాదిని చేసే నీ దివ్య పాదము, రాత్రి నైన నాదిని చేసే నీ దివ్య పాదము. కోటి నైన జ్ఞానిని చేసే నీ నామము. నీదు సరి దైవములేవయ్యా, నిన్నులే నమ్మితి రామయ్య. నీదు సరి దైవములేవయ్యా, నిన్నులే నమ్మితి రామయ్య. నీదు శరణం పాపహరణం మాకు చరణం రాఘవ. నీదు శరణం పాపహరణం మాకు చరణం రాఘవ. ఓ రామణీల మేఘ శ్యామ, ఓ రామణీల మేఘ శ్యామ కోదండ రామ, రఘుకుల విసోమ పరంధామ సర్వభౌమ, నీల మేఘ శ్యామ. రఘురామ్ రామ్ రామ్ రఘురామ్ జయ రామ్ 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 జయ రామ్. రఘురామ్ రామ్ రామ్ రఘురామ్ జయ రామ్ 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 జయ రామ్. జయ రామ్ 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 జయ రామ్, జయ రామ్ 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 జయ రామ్. జయ రామ్ 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 జయ రామ్.
शारदे ओ शारदे विघ्न विनाशिनी शारदे. शारदे ओ शारदे विघ्न विनाशिनी शारदे. शारदे ओ शारदे विघ्न विनाशिनी शारदे. कलुष विनाशिनी शारदे.
कृष्ण प्राण शारदे
शारदे ओ शारदे जय जय दायिनी शारदे
शारदे ओ शारदे जय जय दायिनी शारदे
शारदे ओ शारदे विघ्न विनाशिनी 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 शारदे
विघ्न विनाशिनी शारदे
विघ्न विनाशिनी शारदे
विघ्न विनाशिनी शारदे
विघ्न विनाशिनी शारदे
विघ्न विनाशिनी शारदे
ओम श्री राम कृष्ण भगवान की जय
हरिताराचे हजार नाम कया नाम लखवी कंकोतरी हरिताराचे हजार नाम कया नाम लखवी कंकोतरी रोज रोज बदले मुकाम कया नाम लखवी कंकोतरी रोज रोज बदले मुकाम कया नाम लखवी कंकोतरी हरिताराचे हजार नाम कया नाम लखवी कंकोतरी मथुरा मोहन तू गोकुल गोवारियो मथुरा मोहन तू गोकुल गोवारियो द्वारका मरायण चोर कया नाम लखवी कंकोतरी द्वारका मरायण चोर कया नाम लखवी कंकोतरी हरिताराचे हजार नाम कया नाम लखवी कंकोतरी नरसी में तानो तू स्वामी समारियो नरसी में तानो तू स्वामी समारियो मीरा गिरधर गोपाल कया नाम लखवी कंकोतरी मीरा गिरधर गोपाल कया नाम लखवी कंकोतरी हरिताराचे हजार नाम कया नाम लखवी कंकोतरी कोई कहे राम कहे कोई राधे श्याम कोई कहे राम कहे कोई राधे श्याम कोई कहे नंदनो किशोर कया नाम लखवी कंकोतरी कोई कहे नंदनो किशोर कया नाम लखवी कंकोतरी हरिताराचे हजार नाम कया नाम लखवी कंकोतरी हरिताराचे हजार नाम कया नाम लखवी कंकोतरी रोज रोज बदले मुकाम कया नाम लखवी कंकोतरी रोज रोज बदले मुकाम कया नाम लखवी कंकोतरी कोई कहे राम कहे कोई राधे श्याम कोई कहे राम कहे कोई राधे श्याम कोई कहे नंदनो किशोर कया नाम लखवी कंकोतरी कोई कहे नंदनो किशोर कया नाम लखवी कंकोतरी हरिताराचे हजार नाम कया नाम लखवी कंकोतरी कया नाम लखवी कंकोतरी कया नाम लखवी कंकोतरी कया नाम लखवी कंकोतरी ओम श्री राम कृष्ण भगवान की
Sarvadevi Swarupaya Shri Ramakrishnaya Namaha. Dear sisters, brothers and loving children, Om Namo Narayanaya. The reading this morning is taken from the life of Swami Vivekananda by his Eastern and Western disciples, chapter 10, titled Days of Ecstasy at Dakshineshwar. To be with Sri Ramakrishna was itself a kind of austerity and spiritual discipline. It was a rising beyond all thoughts of the body, beyond the limitations of the senses. It required concentration and character of the highest order to follow the Master in his flights of thought. The whole soul of the devotee was steered to realization and ecstatic passion. He was called to enter the sphere of divine emotion. Sri Ramakrishna tried to depict this in words, but in it he often soared beyond all words to God. The company of Sri Ramakrishna was itself a compelling stimulus to spirituality. Spiritual emotion blazed there, and the very soul of things shone forth. Only those who have sat at the feet of the Master can know the ocean of sweet intimacy and oneness with him in which the disciples were bathed. It was a tender, natural, human, and easy relationship, free from the affectation, egoism, and aloofness which tend to mark the atmosphere surrounding the Guru. The atmosphere was indeed divine. The presence of God was profound, and yet there was much laughter and fun beneath the spreading trees of Dakshineshwar and in the Master's room. The Master and his disciples would often sit under the trees in sweet and intimate talk, and every now and then some remark of the Master would change the human joy into divine blessedness. Referring to those days, Naren used to say, "It is impossible to give others any idea of the ineffable joy we derived from the presence of the Master. It is really beyond our understanding how he could train us without our knowing it through fun and play, and thus mold our spiritual life. Realizing that the Atman, the source of infinite strength, exists in every individual, though small in stature, he was able to see the potential giant in all. He could clearly detect the latent spiritual power which would, in the fullness of time, manifest itself. Holding up that bright picture to view, he would speak highly of us and encourage us. Again, he would warn us least in worldly desires, and moreover, he would keep us under control by carefully observing even the minute details of our life. All this was done silently and unobstructively. That was the secret of his training of the disciples and of his molding of their lives. Once I felt that I could not practice deep concentration during meditation. I told him of it and sought his advice and direction. He told me his personal experiences in the matter and gave me instructions. I remember that as I sat down to meditate during the early hours of the morning, my mind would be disturbed and diverted by the shrill note of the whistle of a neighboring jute mill. I told him about it, and he advised me to concentrate my mind on the sound of the whistle itself. I followed his advice and derived much benefit from it. On another occasion, I felt difficulty in totally forgetting my body during meditation and concentrating the mind wholly on the Supreme. I went to him for counsel, and he gave me the very instruction which he himself had received from Sri Totapuri Ji, his guru, who was an expert in the Vedantic disciplines. He sharply pressed between my eyebrows with his fingernail and said, "Now, concentrate your mind on this painful sensation." I found I could concentrate easily on that sensation as long as I liked, and there was no distraction to hinder my meditation. The Panjavati, a grove of 5 sacred trees, is associated with the various spiritual realizations of the Master. The solitude of this holy environment was also the most suitable place for our meditation. Besides meditation and spiritual exercises, we used to spend a good deal of time there in sheer fun and merrymaking. Sri Ramakrishna also joined in with us, and by taking part, enhanced our innocent pleasure. We used to run and skip about, climb on the trees, swing from the creepers, and at times hold happy picnics. On the first day that we picnicked, the Master noticed that I myself had cooked the food. I knew that he could not eat the food cooked by anyone, so I had arranged for his meal at the Kali temple. But he said, "It won't be wrong for me to eat food cooked by such a pure soul as yourself." In despite of my repeated objections, he enjoyed the food I had cooked on that day. Naren was in his element at Dakshineshwar. All his boyish enthusiasm was let loose there. He was like a young lion sporting joyously in the presence of a strong but understanding parent. All his pent-up energy of mind and heart, which had brought on anguish and tempest when it had partially revealed itself before, was now free to express itself fully. It manifested as a torrent of spiritual energy. Sri Ramakrishna understood and was delighted beyond words. The flights of Naren's soul was visible to him. Like an esteemed king in long years of spiritual experience was the Master, and Naren was like a young prince and heir, full of fire and vigor because of his spiritual inheritance. The Master let Naren's mind work under the pressure of its intrinsic force. He allowed it to become its own guru. He allowed Naren to doubt him. He said, "Do not accept anything because I have said so, but test everything for yourself. It is not in acceptance or opposition that the goal is to be attained, but in actual realization." And this Naren did, though often it called for extraordinary patience on the part of the Master and involved him in much suffering. It is true to say that only Narendranath, amongst the disciples, understood the greatness of Sri Ramakrishna. He alone dared to doubt. He alone had a determined conviction with regard to the Master. The others absorbed with attention on every word that fell from his lips. They loved the Master. Theirs was the conviction which comes of love. They knew Sri Ramakrishna only through their burning love for him, but Naren would question him, would smile at his statements and criticize them. Naren too had love for the Master, love such that no other disciple had, and it was that love which made him revere and adore him. But he was not content until he had completely satisfied himself of the truth of Sri Ramakrishna's teachings, so far as the critical intellect was capable of approving the utterance of a saint and seer. It was Naren's power, partially intellectual and partially spiritual, of searching out and arriving at the truth, which filled the Master with respect for Naren. Yes, this was the Shiva nature, or the Shiva power in Naren, as Sri Ramakrishna used to call it. On a certain occasion, the Master said to the disciples present, pointing to Narendranath, "Behold, here is Naren. See, oh, what power of insight he has. It is as if Maya herself cannot approach within less than 10 feet of him. She is barred by the very glory which she has imparted to him." Then he prayed that the mother might dim that radiance in order that Naren might be able to work. "O mother," he prayed, "put a little of your Maya into Narendra, for otherwise, by the natural tendency of his soul, he would be concerned only with personal realization. He would be immersed in eternal meditation and be mindful only of the supreme reality. He would thus be lost to the world." The other disciples accepted Sri Ramakrishna's valuation of Naren as indisputable. Had he not gauged the depths of their own natures also? Had he not, at first sight, had the vision of the special forms of divinity to which their minds tended? Had he not told every one of them his hidden tendencies? By mere touch, he had imparted powers and realizations to them. Who were they to doubt when he said of Naren, "He has 18 extraordinary powers, 1 or 2 of which are sufficient to make a man famous in the world," or "He is a burning, roaring fire, consuming all impurities to ashes." Wonderful was Sri Ramakrishna's method of teaching. He would seldom enter into the argument of his disciples. With a word, a glance, or a song, he would teach, and the teaching was always, "Realization is the only goal." When realization comes into the heart, all arguments cease and divine knowledge shines forth. Indeed, Sri Ramakrishna was a teacher who spoke only in the language of realization. He was not a metaphysician. He had actually seen the truth. Spirituality is not the capacity to put fine theories into words. It is realization. It is character. Sri Ramakrishna took spiritual realization from the plane of discussion into the sphere of personal striving, of austerities, and of a realistic endeavor for vision. Slowly but surely, Naren came to understand that it was realization that was true religion. Thinking of reality was good, but better was the vision of it, to attain which took time and much loving patience. But in time, Naren discovered that the silence of insight was Sri Ramakrishna's most eloquent teaching. May the life of Swamiji inspire us to know the divine within. Jai Sri Ramakrishna.
मन मुकुर सुधार वरनो रघुवर विमल यश जोदायक फलचार बुद्धिहीन तनु जानिके सुमिरो पवन कुमार बल बुद्धि विद्या देहु मोहि हरहु कलेश विकार सियावर रामचंद्र की जय पवन सुत हनुमान
अम्बे मात की जय। चौपाई। जय हनुमान ज्ञान गुण सागर, जय कपीश तिहु लोक उजागर। रामदूत तुलित बल धामा, अंजनी पुत्र पवन सुत नामा। महावीर विक्रम बजरंगी, कुमति निवार सुमति के संगी। कंचन वरण विराज सुवेशा, कानन कुंडल कुंचित केशा। हाथ वज्र और ध्वजा विराजे, कांधे मूज जनेऊ साजे। शंकर सुवन केसरी नंदन, तेज प्रताप महाजगवंदन। विद्यावान गुणी अति चातुर, राम काज करिबे को आतुर। प्रभु चरित्र सुनिबे को रसिया, राम लखन सीता मन बसिया। सूक्ष्म रूप धरि सिया दिखावा, विकट रूप धरि लंक जरावा। भीम रूप धरि असुर संहारे, रामचंद्र के काज सवारे। लाए संजीवन लखन जियाए, श्री रघुवीर हर्ष उर लाए। रघुपति कीन्ही बहुत बड़ाई, तुम मम प्रिया भरत सम भाई। सहस बदन तुम्हरो यश गावे, अस कहि श्रीपति कंठ लगावे। सनकादिक ब्रह्मादि मुनीषा, नारद शारद सहित अहीशा। यम कुबेर दिक्पाल जहाते, कवि कोविद कहि सके कहाते। तुम उपकार सुग्रीवहि कीन्हा, राम मिलाए राजपद दीन्हा। तुम्हरो मंत्र विभीषण माना, लंकेश्वर भय सब जग जाना। युग सहस्र योजन पर भानु, लील्योताहि मधुर फल जानो। प्रभु मोद्रिका मिलि मुख माहि, जल्दी लांघि गए अचरज नाहि। दुर्गम काज जगत के जेते, सुगम अनुग्रह तुम्हरे तेते। राम दुआरे तुम रखवारे, होत न आज्ञा बिना पैसारे। सब सुख लहे तुम्हारी शरणा, तुम रक्षक काहू को डरना। आपने तेज समारो आपे, तीनों लोक हांकते कापे। भूत पिशाच निकट नहीं आवे, महावीर जब नाम सुनावे। नाशे रोग हरे सब पीरा, जपत निरंतर हनुमत वीरा। संकट से हनुमान छुड़ावे, मन क्रम वचन ध्यान जो लावे। सब पर राम तपस्वी राजा, तिनके काज सकल तुम साजा। और मनोरथ जो कोई लावे, शाश्वत जीवन फल पावे। चारों युग परताप तुम्हारा, है प्रसिद्ध जगत
अष्टसिद्धि नवनिधि के दाता असबर दीन जानकी माता राम रसायन तुम्हारे पासा सदा रहो रघुपति के दासा तुम्हारे भजन राम को भावे जन्म जन्म के दुख बिसरावे अंतकाल रघुपति पुर जाई जहाँ जन्म हरि भक्त कहाई और देवता चेतन धरई हनुमत से सर्व सुख करई संकट हरे मिटे सब पीरा जो सुमिरे हनुमत बलबीरा जय 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 हनुमान गोसाई कृपा करो गुरुदेव की नाई जो शतवार पाठ कर कोई झूठी बंदी महासुख होई जोय परे हनुमान चालीसा होय सिद्धि साखी गौरीसा तुलसीदास सदा हरि चेरा जय नाथ हृदय महादेरा जय नाथ हृदय महादेरा दोहा पवन तनय संकट हरण मंगल मूर्ति राम लखन सीता सहित हृदय सुरभूप सियावर रामचंद्र की जय पवन सुत हनुमान की जय श्री अम्बे अम्बे मात की जय.
Om Namo Narayanaya, dear sisters, brothers and loving children. Let us pray to God to bless us on this very auspicious and happy day. The prayer is taken from our prayer book. O Mother Divine, you are the remover of the miseries of the devotees. You are the eternal refuge, ever blissful and compassionate. You are the Savior of the universe. Please protect us. We offer our salutations to you. May all live in love and peace. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
सर्वेषां स्वस्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामया सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. हरि ओम तत्सत्.
जय श्री गुरु महाराज की
जय.
महामाई की
जय.
स्वामी जी महाराज की
जय.
गंगा मात की
जय.
महावीर स्वामी जी की
जय।
सर्व ऋषि मुनीन की
जय। पार्वती पतये हर हर महादेव की जय। ओम नमो नारायणाय।
Om Namo Narayanaya. Hinduism for Children is a simple book that gives us an overview of our religion. It is very interesting and children can understand it. As mentioned previously, our scriptures emphasize the need to be virtuous. Today, when many people are struggling to make ends meet, we must remember that all great people practice patience and sacrifice. Further, they had infinite faith in God and did not doubt His power of protection. We must always choose the right over wrong to achieve our purpose in life. The story of Ramakrishna Deva demonstrates that we can gain much by sacrificing our little needs for the good of many. Ramakrishna Deva was a king who renounced his kingdom to realize God. He lived as a hermit in the forest and fasted for 48 days to help control his mind. On the 49th day, he cooked some rice and was just about to eat when a hungry beggar came by. Ramakrishna Deva immediately gave his food to the beggar and cooked more for himself. Again, as he sat to eat, another hungry person came asking for food. Ranti Deva did not hesitate to give his food away and prepared food for the third time. Just when he sat to eat, a hungry dog came along. Ranti Deva then happily fed the dog. Each time Ranti Deva sacrificed his own needs to satisfy those of others, he had sacrificed his kingdom and comforts to realize God. He was blessed by being selfless and satisfying the hunger of others. He saw the same God in all that served him. Thus, this generosity enabled him to progress on the path to God realization. We learn that when we preserve and pray regularly, God blesses us. We must also respect plants and animals as God is present in them too. The story of Ganesha and the cats also teaches us about the oneness of creation. Once, Ganesha, the son of Lord Shiva, was playing with the cats, and he became a little rough. When Ganesha returned home, he saw bruises on his mother's body. He inquired what had happened to his mother Parvati, and she explained that Ganesha had in fact hurt her. By playing roughly with the cats, he had hurt her body. This story again demonstrates that God is everywhere and in everything, even in the cats with whom Ganesha played. Often, we forget what our true purpose in life is. We get caught in the world and sometimes do not have time to pray. As we live in competition or comparison with others, our desires increase. There is a story about a merchant who was quite rich, but he was a miser and never used his money. Instead, he would put it in a pot and count it every night. Then he would bury it beneath a fig tree in his back garden so nobody would steal it. One day, his neighbor noticed what he was doing. When the merchant was away, the neighbor dug up the pot of gold and replaced the coins with pebbles. Later, when the merchant went to count his money, he found that the pot was filled with pebbles. His neighbor then appeared and told him that the money he had acquired was of no use. It served no purpose as it was not being used to help anyone. Instead, it was just counted. It was as good as having pebbles. Although we require funds to live comfortably, yet accumulating money is not the most important thing in life. If it is used to help someone, its true purpose is fulfilled. When used righteously,